Hi, everyone. So, the episode 4 is where things start to get complicated, especially for OAuth authentication. It can be challenging and requires a few extra steps. So, Qlik, Qlik does not support, the Qlik data connection do not support this kind of authentication. So we need to deal with that. So how we can do that? So today's class is kind of intense. It'll be a long video and we have a lot of content. So bear with me. You'll be worth, and you're going to learn a lot of new things in this class today. Okay. So let's deep dive on how to handle different authentications in Qlik Cloud. Okay. So first, if your authentication doesn't work, so what's the kind of error you see it? So let's try using our Stripe connection and see how it works, how it displays the authentication issue. So go back here, go to our connection that we have created in the previous class, and let's change it. And the only thing I go here, so if you check the authorization, you see we can't see the connection. Even if I'm the owner, if I try to type it to change anything, you won't see it. Okay. So just try bear here, try anything. Okay. And test connection. So it will tell me this is the 401. Okay. So it's unauthorized. So it doesn't work. All right. So then I need the right value. Okay. We'll go back here in Stripe. I'll go to my collection, go to my variables, get my token. If you don't have in Postman, you can always go back, whatever you save it, just go there and take your token. I usually store all my stuff here in Postman. All right. It can be a notepad, can be whatever you like it. Okay. So then I'll go back to here, paste it, test the connection. It's working. Okay. So I have access, right? So just encrypted, save it. That's it. Okay. Now, this is the easiest one. Okay. And you see by far, this is the easiest way to set an authentication, right? If you have a classic one where you have a user and password, or if you have a bearer token, that's the easy path. Okay. So if we move to the next slide, so this is the bearer token. Okay. And that's it. It's just need to set the authorization header, set the bearer value with the token, space token, and that's everything you need. In some case, the IT will just provide you a token, right? And then you just use it, and you have to make sure that you have access to the endpoints or the resources that you're looking for. In some case, you have to set up the token. So in that case, keep in mind to just secure whatever you need access. So if you just need access to the customers or charts or anything specific and just the read access, just put whatever you needed. Don't add anything extra. So this will allow you to keep your key secure. So in case you have a leak, people just have access to whatever you have set up. So don't allow full access or admin access or anything like that. So keep in mind that a token usually works on behalf of a user. So if you're creating a token for yourself, this will impersonate your user in an APIs. So restrict the access and keep that secure. Okay. And for Qlik, that means do not store your credentials in the load script. Sometimes you cannot avoid that, but in most cases there are ways to store that. So avoid hard coding your tokens in the load script. Do not use trace to display the token that you captured. So try to keep as most secure as possible. All right. So don't spread your token everywhere. Okay, so now, so that was the bearer token, okay? And then you have the OAuth. OAuth is one of the most secure and most complex authentication methods, and you can implement that in many different ways. So there are multiple ways that this can be set up. So and so you have to learn the basics, but depending on how the API was implemented, you have to handle that in a different way. But pretty much in Qlik Cloud, when you have an OAuth authentication, because OAuth authentication is not natively supported by the data REST connector, you have to do into 2 steps. So one is to request the token, and then you get the token, and then you use in your main connection. But for now, we are going to see how we can test OAuth client in Qlik. We use that in Postman, and then we're going to split that in 2 steps. Okay, so this will be a long process. So let's dive into this right now. Okay. So first, I will go here to my. So first, I need the OAuth client. Okay. So this is not about a class about how we can create in details OAuth client. So just stick to the basics here. Okay. So if you are an administrator, you can go to the administration OAuth client. Okay. So then I'm going to create one here for us. I will call it, so this will be a client type web, okay? And then I will give a name. So like consuming REST APIs with Qlik Cloud, or just a temporary OAuth for class, okay? Then I would just use default. So I just get so these are about the scopes, okay? So just add the user default. I can add multiple ones like admin. I can allow it to create applications, do whatever you want. But in this case, I would just use the default, all right? And I don't need here in this case any redirect, any special thing. Client secret, so this is kind of a password, and I will check allow machine to machine, M2M, okay? So then I do create, and then this is very important. So you have to keep the client ID and the client secret. This is the one that you're going to use in order to get the tokens. So the way that I'm set up here, instead of creating a fixed token, a bearer token, we are going to do that dynamically. So every request, we change the token. So in order to do that, we need the client secret. For this implementation, I need the client ID and the client secret. So you copy these two. I will save in my notes. Okay, go back here. And I will just keep that one. Okay, and that's it. So I click done. And then I have my client ID here, my OAuth client. So it was created. And then I have to set the consent method to be trusted, okay? So change to trusted, and that's it. So here in this section, we have the view OAuth configurations. So here we can see multiple things, multiple endpoints and parameters that are required. So I need to copy this one because I will need some of this information. So I copy this here. I put in my notes here on the side, and also this guy right here. But this one I won't need. I just need the one on top. I'm more interested on this authorization endpoint. So this is the one I'm actually the token endpoint. Okay, done. All right. Again, this can be very different. OAuth is very broad. You can have multiple configurations. It can be set up in many different ways. This is one way to set up it. So don't try to follow these rules for other OAuth clients. So that's why we always have to keep attention to the documentation of your REST API, because there you have all the particularities for each authentication method, each pagination method. So everything there, it must be specified in a good documentation. So here's just one example in how you can handle that. All right, good. So now in Postman, I have created a new workspace. I call it the Data Vargas tenant for Qlik Cloud. And then I'm going to create two collections here, one to do the OAuth and the other one to do the bearer. So I will just create a new collection and I will call OAuth. So I just use this one to do the OAuth authentication. All right. Then, so again, like the other ones, like Stripe, I'm going to do my authorization here in the collection. So everything under that, all the requests that I do under this collection use the same authentication. I know that I will need two variables. So one I will call client ID. The other one will be the client secret. Okay. And then you just copy and paste the values that we had before. So that's my client ID. And this is my client secret. Okay. Good. All right. So then I go to authorization tab, and don't get scared. So instead of using the bearer token, I use the OAuth 2.0. Okay. So that's the current OAuth protocol. And it's funny. So when you go there, you'll see a lot of information and you really get scared about, okay, whoa, what is that? All right. So, so in this case here, the area that I need to focus on is this one right here. So it's how we get the new tokens. Okay. So how we do that. And then, so the OAuth is pretty much like that. Okay. So there are different process to get a token. Sometimes you need to get a code. Sometimes you just need to enter a token. In my case here, I need to use the client credentials method to get a new token. But again, you can have different ones. In this one here, you'll be the client credentials. All right. So then I add a new token here. It can be any name, right? Just say Qlik token and the access token URL. So if I move this here, so these are the notes that I got from the documentation here, the view OAuth configuration. So if I move back here, the one that I'm looking for is how to get the token. So that's the endpoint here. Okay. So this can be challenging, just this part here to understand. I know because I'm used to this one, but you can have different things. Like if you're getting the authorization, you may use these endpoints or revoking or renewing the endpoint. So you have a endpoint just to renew. I don't know where is this, but you may have different things. Okay. So I'll go here and then I type the URL here, and the client ID I already put in a variable. Okay. Client secret is already in a variable. All right. Scope for this one is user default. Okay. Default. All right. Client authentication. That's the one I'm looking for. Okay. So then I have everything set up here, and then I'll get new token. So this is where I should see authentication completed. So that means I have a new token. So my OAuth process was able to do the connections and get the access token. So this is what I'm looking for. Okay, this is what I need to use this token. So then I click use token. That's it. So I have my Qlik here, the header. So my authentication OAuth 2 is set up in Postman. Okay. Now, if I go here to my collection and I'm going to test it. So, and to test that, I use the get spaces. It's a simple one. By the way, you go here to the Qlik Dev APIs, Qlik.dev APIs REST. We're going to see all the endpoints available in Qlik Cloud. So it's incredible the things you can do here. All right. So it can automate multiple things. It's very powerful. And if I go to spaces, I'm looking for this get one. So just to list the spaces, okay? So then you have the curl again. So curl will give you the definitions of the endpoint. So I copy this one, go back here to my collection and import, okay? I will paste here and then I can call anything. I just got get spaces. And inside this collection, import. Then I just need to add the tenant in the region. So is your URL. I'll just copy the whole thing. I'll add here. I can also add variables here. And there are different ways to deal with that. But I'll keep it simple. And authorization, you just inherit from the collection. Okay, so it already detected the OAuth 2 and the token, everything else. All right. So if I save it, this is a very simple request. So it's just a get to get the list of space. And if it clicks send, there you go. So I have all my spaces. Just a little bit about the JSON structure again. So this is how the Qlik response is displayed. So we have a data node with, remember the brackets means a collection of objects or attributes. So for inside each square curly brackets here is a space. Okay, so you have multiple spaces. Again, we can add attributes in the parameters to reduce the number of space returned. If you check here the space, we have the type of the space, the ID, the name of the space, and descriptions. If you have the assigned rows, the links, and multiple different properties. All right. So this is working. Okay. Good. Okay. So that was how to do the auth in Postman. Next, then later you see how to do in Qlik Cloud. Okay. But let's first see how we can do the bare authentication using Qlik, right? So I will start with that. So then I'll go back to Postman. First, actually, I need the API key, okay? So let me go here to Qlik Cloud. And then to get an API key in Qlik Cloud, you need access. Your manager should allow you to get a Qlik token, okay? So then I go here on the settings and I go here API keys. I can generate a new key, all right? So then I call consuming REST APIs with Qlik Cloud. I will just set it to last 7 days, okay? Generate, and then we need this here. So copy and close. I'll save in a notepad for now, okay? Then I'll go to Postman and create that connection. So the first collection I have here was to use OAuth. So I'm going to create a new collection. Okay. Add a new collection. And this, I will call it bear here. Okay. Then authorization, UB, bearer token. I'll go to the variables. I'll paste my token here. And this would be called, my variable will be called bear here. Okay. Bear here token. Okay. All right. Then I'll go here and I'll use that variable. Bear here. Where is it? Okay. I think I need to save it. Save it. Overwrite. Paste it. Okay. Save it. Go here and then add the variable. Bearer token. All right. So I have my setup available. Then I can just, I'll go here, copy the same request, and I'll add a new request, but now this time for this collection. So I go here, I will call it get request, get spaces again, is a get, pasted, and then I can use from the parent, right? I don't need to change anything else. Right, so send. So now I have my request here, but using the bearer token. So this is similar to the Stripe. Is very similar. So then now, okay, how I can make this request in Qlik Cloud? Okay, so let's do the same thing. I'll go here, go to my my space. Let me go here to catalog, consuming REST APIs. And this time I'm going to create a new application, okay? So consuming REST APIs and create. Okay, so I just create an analytics app to test all these connections, all right? So just go to the data load editor and I will try, first I will try the connection with the bearer, okay? So just call here, get spaces, bearer, okay? Then I will create a new connection from here this time. So we do the same, very similar steps from that, the same that we have for Stripe. Get the REST connection. This is the URL. This is the get. And this time here, the allow with connections, always important. In this case, we need to use that one because we are going to override it later. Authorization, bearer, space, and the token, the very same one that we have here. Okay, all right, and then we'll call it get spaces, test connection, unauthorized, authorization, bearer. Oh, sorry, I got the token from the Stripe. So it's from here, my bad. So it's good that we see it's working, right? Don't copy this one, go back here. Let me close this one, I don't need anymore. Paste it, no pagination this time, we're going to see pagination later. Test the connection, good. So now with the right parameters, we can test it. Okay, create, okay. So then I will quickly see, we display the data here, okay? So just take that data, select. Every time I recommend preloading all the symbols so you don't have any problem when you're seeing your data. So then you expand the root here. Again, every API you show this in a different way. So for Qlik, we have the root where we have all the main elements. And then inside data, similar to Stripe, is where you have your data. So I click here. And if you don't see the values here, just click back and forth. It will display like that. It doesn't show it. But if you try again, it will display the data. So just look for ID, type, and the name and description. Okay. Insert. So I'm not worried about this query statement now. We're going to see that later. I'm just concerned about the data that I'm loading. Then I test. Again, this doesn't have a pagination, so I load the first set of records, okay? And then I go to data preview. I should see the values, okay? All right, great. Okay, now let's how I can do Auth authentication. So Auth authentication is not supported by Qlik. So we need to split that Auth authentication into two steps, okay? So the first step is to request the token. And the second step is to execute this bearer connection, okay? But the token, in this case, it's dynamic. So we have to request the token every time you call this operation, okay? So then let me just add a new session here. Get spaces using OAuth, okay? And then here I've just put an exit script here. So we don't call this process. And let's test first in Postman. Again, always test in Postman, even to make sure it works or not. Okay. So then I'll use this section here, OAuth. It can be anyone, to be honest. Actually, let's do here. I'll do a new request. In this case, you'll be a post because I'm requesting the token. So request token. So then from the request token, I need to use the same URL here that we access the token. Is the same one that we need to request the token. And we also need to do the grant type, client ID, client secret, and scope. So we need the same parameters here in order to get the token, okay? So then I'll go here, request token. I'll enter the URL. Let me just save it, okay? I don't need any authorization, so I just put no authorization. Headers, there is nothing special here. And in the body, you need to pass the JSON parameters, the how you're requesting the token. So again, that changes for each implementation. Don't take this as a rule because other APIs implement this in a different ways, and sometimes you need multiple steps. If for Qlik Cloud or Auth, we just need 2 steps in the way that we set up your OAuth client and the way we have this set up, in the way that Qlik set up this, we just need 2 steps. Sometimes we need 3, sometimes 4. So that depends on the OAuth. So what you have to learn here is that in some cases you have, instead of using an integrated OAuth process that handles all the authentication, you have to break that into multiple steps. And again, in this case, you just need 2. So first one to get the token, and the second one to actually execute the request. Okay. And this is the body that we need. So it's a JSON body. So the grant type is the client credentials, and we need to pass the client ID, client secret, and the scope is user credential. Let me copy here my my client ID. Okay. My client secret. And if everything is all right, I will send the request and it should work. Okay, good. So this is what I'm looking for, the access token. And if I get this token here, copy that. And if I go to my get spaces, instead of using the authorization from the parents and they just set no authentication, I go to the header and I say authorization, bear here, Control V. This should work. Okay, good. So I see that I can generate a token dynamically and then I can use in another request. So we have to implement this in the same steps in Qlik. Okay, so I save this. Let me roll back the chains here. Okay, so I don't want to use this this way. Okay, so I need to do this post request in Qlik. Okay, so I copy this URL and then I go here again. Now it's another API endpoint, REST API endpoint. So do create new connection, REST, and then I paste here the URL. And this time is post. And then I need to send the very same body that I have here. Paste here. Nothing else is needed. Allow with connection, no pagination. So this will be a request. Let me call Qlik Cloud request token. And we need to add the content type application /JSON. Let me encrypt that. So this application JSON content type isn't required here. So it in Postman, why I didn't need that in Postman. Actually, Postman add that by default. So the content type application /JSON. So it's the same. So here in Qlik, we have to pass that through. Otherwise, Qlik connector, you not recognize the requested body as a JSON, okay? So then I click create test first, right? Okay, good. Then create a connection. All right. So then, okay, so now we have to split that in 2 steps, right? So my first one will be get the bearer token, okay? So then we use this request token. It works like any other regular connection. Click here, go to the root. I just need the access token, okay? And then I insert here. Then I have my access token. I don't need this part of the code because I don't need this table. I would just take this one and I do let v access token equal field value. The field name is access token and the element is 1, okay? So if I just do that and I load the data, I have it, okay? Okay, good. So now that I have the token, I can use it to get spaces, okay? So I use the very same connection that I have here before. Paste here. Remember, in this connection, I have the allow with connection. So that means I can overwrite some of these parameters. So in my case, I will overwrite the authorization header, okay? So then in order to do that, you just go here and we extend the connection, the query with connection, okay? Open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and then the parameter names is HTTP header, and then we need to pass the value and the name and the key value, right? So in this case is authorization, and the value is this one. Okay, they'll go here, pass the value, but also I need to include here bear here. Okay, so you cannot just pass the token. I need the bearer key, otherwise it won't work. All right, so then this should work. Okay, so I'm dynamically assigning the token to the HTTP header. So I'm overwriting the value, the original value there, and assign a new value. And I'm using the same connection. So if I only use this connection without overwriting the HTTP header, it will use the default one that we set up here. But if I use with connection, I'm assigning a new one. So if I only have the OAuth authentication, when I have to use OAuth authentication with Qlik Cloud, I have to use this process. Every time you have an OAuth connection, you need to break that into multiple steps. For the Qlik REST API case, it's just 2 steps, okay? So let's test it, right? Remember, I put the exit script here, so I will not be executing this part of the code. And then let me load it, all right? So I'm expect to get the token, and then the next step will be to override the connection, the select statements to override the authorization header. Okay, good. So then if I go back here to the data preview, I should see the values, okay? All right, good. So we saw how to use the bearer token to access Qlik Cloud API, and then how to use the OAuth authentication. Okay, so it's a few more steps. Again, it changes depending on how is implemented your REST API in your client. Okay, and so when to use what, right? It depends because It's not up to us most part of time to decide which one to use. When you have the option, I personally prefer the bearer token because it's easier and straightforward to use. And OAuth I usually use when I'm developing an application. So then other platforms like or languages like Python and etc. .NET, they can handle that more efficiently than Qlik. So which one to use? It depends. So is which one you have available. Okay, but in general, the bearer tokens it's more straightforward, right? And it's good to use two simple solutions. OAuth authentications when you need something more robust and more secure, and with auto refresh the tokens and etc. And the basic authentication is mostly for legacy systems where you have a user and password. It's not that common to see anymore. Okay, so let's recap everything that we saw. So the data connections we can do with API keys. So every time you can set up an API key, or even for authentication or auth authentication, if you have the chance of setting up those things, do the least privilege as possible. Do not expose your whole API. Just put what is required there, okay? So we saw how we can handle the bearer token, how to use the OAuth authentication, Postman, and Qlik. So how can you do both things? Remember, OAuth clients will usually require extra steps, especially in Qlik. So in Qlik, you always need at least 2 steps. And and how we can, overall, how you can use those credentials to set up your data connections, okay? So the next episode will be more about the load, so how you can get the data from the data connections and how you manipulate that. So we have, so you're going to talk about that. And finally, the next 2 steps will be about data pagination, okay? Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next class.